The Ottomans had a state and economy geared towards warfare and expansion. They used the Turkic cavalry and janissaries to gain control of land and peasants and create a warrior aristocracy. However, the janissaries gained control of weapons and became too powerful, so the sultans, who liked to be completely powerful absolute monarchs, had to get rid of the janissaries. The vizier, head of the bureaucracy and more powerful than sultans, were in charge of day-to-day administration. Although the Ottomans were politically successful and very expansive, they eventually declined because they became too big to support. The empire lasted 600 years and is still the longest lasting in human history. The Safavids had a centralized government in which the Shah made decisions and had the most control. However, they had the help of advisors. Like the Ottomans, the Safavids had a military made up of conquered troops. They expanded mostly to the west in modern-day Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan. As aristocrats left to their estates, the peasants who depended on them had a hard time. Combined with invasions and civil strife, the peasantry began to uprise and rebel. Unlike the Ottomans, Safavid decline was very fast and caused mostly by economic issues.
Both social systems were dominated by warrior aristocracy, and they shared power with the absolutist monarchs. They made life for peasants harder by gradually retreating to the estates. The Ottoman caste system began with the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Sudras, to the city dwellers and to the peasants. Peasants revolted because of the misery they were put through. Both empires were separated by non-Muslims and Muslims. They were very tolerant of non-Muslims, but they were considered second class. Non-Muslims were protected by the Dahimi and only experienced low levels of persecution. The Ottoman Empire was so diverse in ethnic and religious groups that they co-opted kinship units of different populations. Women were subordinated to men, and they were stuck with household chores and domestic handicrafts such as embroidery. They rarely had political or religious power, and they were forced to be secluded and veiled. Some were actually active in trading and money lending, and they have some rights such as the right to divorce. The Ottoman Empire population went from 28 million people in the 1600s to 24 million people in the 1800s. This was due to the loss of territory. The Safavid Empire had 5 million people in the 1500s to 8 million in the 1800s. Both empires were part of the gunpowder empires due to the importance of military. Janissary musketeers and heavy artillery became the driving force of the Ottoman Empire. The technology created by the gunpowder, like cannons, contributed to the success of the empires. Both empires used horses as transportation. The Ottomans was a theocracy as well as the Safavids because the Islamic religion was very crucial. The Ottomans extended to Syria and Egypt and across North Africa, as well as Hungary and around the Black and Red Sea. Mehmed II conquered Constantinople in 1453. The Safavid Empire conquered Persia in modern-day Iraq. They weren't able to expand much due to being the Middle Empire. Disease and starvation officially caused decline in the Safavid Empire after the Afghani tribes besieged Isfahan.
Both the Ottoman and Safavid empires were ruled by aristocracies which shared power with absolute monarchs. Sultans during this time built mansions, rest houses, religious schools, and hospitals for the people. Mehmed II had St. Sophia converted into one of the grandest mosques in the Islamic world. The Ottoman Empire was Sunni, which meant that they believed that any believer could be Muhammad's successor, and the Safavids were Shia, which meant that they believed only Muhammad's descendants or family could be his successor. And women in both Islamic empires were minorities. The English East India Company, French East India Company, and the Dutch VOC all traded actively with the Safavids, and the English Company sent military advisors to introduce gunpowder to Safavid armed forces. European merchants saw Safavid raw silk, carpets, ceramics, and other high-quality craft items, which really helped with their economy. The Ottoman Empire's capital at Bursa was the end of a caravan route that brought raw silk from Persia to supply to the Italian market. Both empires relied on crops of wheat and rice, and the Columbian exchange brought American crops to the Islamic empires, like potatoes, tomatoes, and livestock. Aqueducts from Byzantine heritage were built to supply surrounding population with water. The foundation of the Istanbul Observatory made observations of the sun and moon possible. Taqi al-Din used a mechanical clock which he made himself to calculate specific prayer times. The Ottoman Turks perfected calligraphy, and by the 17th century, the Turkish language had become the preferred mode of expression for poets and historians.